What now? Well, it seems like Valko's dead. It seems like he is not coming back. Despite all the Western pleas, it does seem like they are not going to budge. Because I think right now, the Chinese player base is the main concern, and they don't want to get in trouble. If this is what it takes, they'll probably just cut it. It's not worth losing the entire fan base, which is a shame, because a lot of people worked really hard on designing every aspect of this. You know, as a voice actor, I would be devastated that all those lines, probably so much work just for the voice acting alone. You know, as engineers, all the art, all the animation, there's so much work that's gone into this, and it's a shame. It would be a shame if he doesn't come back, because I think he should come out. I think that's my stance on it. Like, I think he should come back despite, you know, fans being upset about it. So that's kind of the tea, if you will. If anyone has any questions, I'll take them. If anyone wants to offer some more insight, because there's been a lot said, and I wanted to mainly stick to kind of the main story, because there's a lot of stuff going on about people kind of just making stuff up as well. But that's the drama. And I thought it was really interesting because there's like so many different facets of this. Like, I think when you talk about how like drama for companies is so interesting, because like, what do? Do you listen to the fan base, which the fans will always say, yeah, you should listen to the fan base, or should you just do what you were going to do? And I think it's really like heavily dependent on what you're doing. But there are like a lot of cases where you should just fucking do what you were going to do, right? Like, because if you sometimes give the fans an inch, they're going to take a mile. They will not stop until they get everything that they want. What would I have done in their shoes? That's a great question. I think, you know, this is easy to say, like as an individual, but I would not have made the like 3 initial apologies in the Chinese response, because I think what you're doing there is you are kind of showing that you are really worried about this stuff. I think if you like, if I was on like a consulting board of like, hey, I'm like the consultant of, hey, here's what I would do, here's how the fan base is going to react, I would absolutely not do any of these initial apologies. Like, that is the worst thing you can do, because by doing an apology, even if you're kind of saying like, hey, you guys misunderstood, you're showing that like this is a concern that you care about, when truthfully, you know, it probably wasn't really a concern, really. And by doing that, you're saying to the fans like, hey, we are really worried about everything. So, you know, you're kind of in a tough position here of like, okay, well, now I guess we have to listen to everything. And you're kind of over-explaining, and you're in this trap where fans now know that you listen and will now get more mad because they know you're listening. When a lot of the time, the best thing to do is to often do nothing. Like, they should have just gone with the release, and it probably would have fizzled out. Fans would have been pissed off in China still, absolutely, but it probably would have fizzled out. It's normally how these things go, because once you reach kind of a critical mass of people caring about this, it becomes kind of impossible to slow down. The velocity of like the drama becomes so like crazy that, you know, maybe even like random people who don't know the game start asking you about it, stuff like that, right? So that probably would have been the best approach, if I'm completely honest. And they should have just released him. I mean, oftentimes the kind of things, you probably would have got some fans, some people would have been pissed off. And then also, clearly, the biggest fault is that people feel slighted that the game isn't releasing enough content for the characters that they like. So, you know, maybe do that to show in like good faith, you know? I think there also could have been some help from there, or maybe some assurances that, hey, there is more content in the way. Here's that content too, right? So there's a ton of different things. Everyone who's like involved in this drama is like super, super emotionally charged. And I really, really wanted to make this because I was like, okay, I don't really have like any feeling about any of this. Like, and I think it's really interesting from a perspective. I also thought that it was really interesting how when I saw about this in the Western perspective, there's like a lot of like just straight up like misogyny, I guess, towards women who play this game. And it's like, guys, we freaking get so much Guna shit for us. And then when the women get one, it's like, wow, these women are the freaking unsalvageable dregs of society. How dare they? How dare they like have a game like this? It was so unhelpful, I think. And whenever I see stuff like that, you know, because like as a guy seeing this shit, you know, it's unusual for guys to see this kind of content, you know, with these boys like this. And a lot of guys, unfortunately, I think feel kind of like they have to compete with it, when it's like, that's not the truth at all. You're not competing against Silas. You could never be him. Let's be honest. If we have to compete against Silas, we're fucking cooked. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of guys who maybe, I think just sadly are younger, think that this is like somehow stealing the women away from them. It's you know, it's not happening, okay? It's not happening. The same way, again, I said this earlier, the same way you bust a nut to some porn, it does not mean you then spend the next 4 hours thinking about her, you know? Like, you do it You get your serotonin, you're done, you know? It's different. Sorry, it's no different from that kind of aspect to it, right? It's just, I think guys are a lot more maybe transactional in the way they view it. I think it's the emotional kind of way that women talk about it that kind of scares some guys off. But anyway, I like that was a really way of talking it, like interesting aspect of the conversation that I thought was like being super unfairly discussed by a lot of people online. And I hadn't really seen anyone talk about it from a way, like every single video I watched about this was from people who are very passionate about Valco in some way, because I was watching it in English. And I think that it's not really helpful when we're discussing this, although I do, think he should come back. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Connor, I just want them to stop reporting and posting about my Guma game. Yeah, and like, I know a lot of people who've played Lads. A lot of people play Lads for different reasons. A lot of people like some of the aspects. A lot of people, some people do like the Gunnar aspects, and that's like their favorite part. But a lot of people just really like the emotional kind of build up and the gameplay loop. But also a lot of people just like the community. Like a lot of people like being able to talk about this dreamy boy and share that with another person. Like it's fun to have that space and to be able to share that with someone else. And it's not like a monolith that everyone who plays this game is a degenerate Gunnar. And some people even like the combat, which is interesting. No kidding. Yeah, it's interesting. I've spoken to a lot of people who like, and I should have asked them, I was like, do you feel like in any way this takes away from like your personal romantic life? And they were like, no. It doesn't. I know that he's not fucking real. Yeah, I think he's fucking hot and he's sexy, but yeah, I don't think he's fucking real. Most people, I'm sure you could find an insane person that thinks that is deranged and thinks he's real and that they actually love him. But I think most people are way more well-adjusted than you're giving credit for. So yeah, there you go. That's the drama. So hopefully, to the Valco fans, I hope you get your boy back, because I think that he should come back. I don't think it's right that he's kind of been snuffed out. Just from a creative perspective, what a fucking shame to lose all of those hours of work. It sucks. People are getting married to Miku. Yeah, I mean, yeah, very much so. But that's the thing. People don't want logic on the internet. They want intense emotions. They want people angry. They want you to be riled up. They want you to care about something. When in actual reality fact, it's not, it's kind of whatever. And I'm sure there are a lot of fans of the game who also kind of don't really care. Like, I know that sounds bad, but I'm sure there's some people who are just like probably like my age, like 30, that are like, Actually, people are more upset now because there was a new update that dropped, and it turns out they censored altered stuff due to the negative attention with the content. Oh my God, they censored even more. The thing with drama is that the truth is that it has a shelf life, and even if it's really, really bad, people move on. Like, there's a World Cup going on. World War III is about to start. But the companies, sometimes they freak out. Sometimes these, people get really, they're not used to dealing with this. But the truth is that like, it would have kind of been a nothing burger. That's my general feeling of it. Had they had probably done nothing and just released Valco. But obviously there is that kind of worry of the censors, that it could get so big that the Chinese regulators could come in. But I don't necessarily think that would have happened had they just done nothing. And that's the truth of a lot of things. Look, I've been in some things in my life too, where I wish in hindsight, I was like, I should have done nothing. That would have worked. Where often just saying nothing, unfortunately, is the best thing to do, although it sucks. And also fans don't like it. You don't get why they were so against him. I think there is this, gacha fans are very possessive over their game. And they feel very proud to be a part of a game. And it's kind of like, they've kind of taken the spot of what MMOs used to be in my mind. Like a lot of gamers who play gacha games really self-identify with the game they play. Which is great for the companies. They fucking love this. Oh, you didn't pull on the banner? You're so cringe. Hey, if you want to be a real fan, give up a little bit. There's this kind of intense ownership that a lot of players feel over games because they feel like, well, we are spending the most on this game. So, we're directly funding it. So we get a say. As opposed to a normal game where you buy it, experience it, you're done, right? You don't get a say. There is this massive kind of ownership that a lot of gacha players have for games. And I think a lot of the times, there are sometimes people who just like to exert that power when they're upset about stuff. They like to kind of rile up other fans and try to make it a big deal. I used to play with Silas as my main, but I stopped playing. I was going to reinstall the game because of Valco, but never mind. I think a lot of people would have probably jumped into the game. And the rating of the game is tanked. It's 1.3 stars. It's bad. Our money, our game. It's such a funny thing because it's not your game. A lot of players feel like they have ownership over a game, but the truth is that the company will just do whatever it takes most of the time to get more money. Yes, in a sense, you own it, in the sense that you can kind of steer it with your wallet, but at the same time, they also don't care. So it's interesting, you know, like it's a fascinating kind of thing to talk about, because also it's changing a lot, especially with like Nintendo, Sony, all doing different things, all kind of shooting themselves in the foot, Xbox imploding. Like it's a really interesting time for gaming in general. The general consensus is that, you know, we are owning our games less and less. There's no clearer example of that than, in my mind, than like gacha games, because it's constantly changing. It is only changing to get more money. And if it stops making money, they'll either move on to the next project, shut it down, you know, or they'll throw Hail Marys, right? And voting with your wallet is real. But as we all know from most statistics with gacha games specifically, it is like, what, the top like 5% of players are often like 90% of the revenue. It's something, obviously I'm just making shit up now with numbers, but it's like, I'm just to paint the picture of the skew in your mind. And, you know, a lot of the people who spend that money oftentimes are also not the loudest, right? Like, it's like, they're like, well, I'm voting with my wallet. And it's like the free-to-play player. It's like, it's an interesting topic. I think that this has been a really fascinating thing to kind of follow for me personally, just because I think that it happened at a really, really interesting point. And it's one of the first times I've seen such a like war happen between Western fans and Chinese fans about a game. Very, very interesting. I spent a decent amount of money on the game, and I'm making sure my voice is heard. I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's the only thing you can do. As a consumer of the game, it's the only power you do have. If you're like, hey, I'm done, I'm not playing again, that's good, because you also will probably, you know, if you move on from the game, you're probably not going to come back. So I think it's real for them. They need to figure it out. And I think if they kind of show to Western audiences that they do not care about them, they'll probably lose a lot of the Western audience, I think, as well. Should money dictate creativity? Absolutely not. But, buddy, that's the world we live in. Like, you know what I mean? You can't expect a company with like shareholders and a legal requirement to make money for the shareholders not to be powered by money. I mean, they're going to do it. That's just the economy we've built and the rules of the game. Even indie, I mean, look, it's like the least amount with indie, right? Like, you're getting that to the least extent of it with indie games, which is why I think indie games are really exciting right now. They may not like lads, but they love the lads. Exactly. That's the one takeaway. Games shouldn't be made for shareholders. IMO. Yeah, I mean, we live in a time when nearly all the media is made for shareholders. And shareholder profits, movies, TV, games, nearly everything you consume as a guy who is concerned about making money for it. So you got to be aware of that. It doesn't mean that it can't be a good game too, and a fair game, but, you know, people need to get paid. It's scary though. I mean, this whole thing is kind of like, it's kind of an interesting mirror of the times we live in, where outrage is currency, and how this game kind of stumbled across this level of drama and discussion that probably would never happen in any other time in like gaming history. Look, I hope that I hope Valko comes back, because again, it's a shame. It's a shame that all that work's gone to waste. Hey, look, if I had to pick a boy, brother, maybe Silas. Silas is kind of hot. Silas is kind of hot, not gonna lie. But Valko's also cute. If I could experience him. Will you be the next love interest? Brother, you'll get boycotts in every fucking language if that happens. Again, I don't know everything about this topic. I'm a tourist in the love and deep space. I knew as much as I knew this week. I hope that you enjoyed this, because I tried my best to kind of understand everything in a couple of days. But I hope it was fun, first and foremost. And love and deep space fans, I sympathize for you, because it fucking sucks. This is not a fun thing to happen to your game, especially if it's the main game you play. Absolutely would love any updates in the comments about what's happened or any things I missed, because I think it would be cool to have a full overview of all of this. So yeah,